What's up, guys? We are here in Minnesota to learn everything there is to know behind the brand at Salsa Cycles. But don't worry, we're not going to be reviewing any fat bikes. We're here to learn about the renewed passion for gravity-fueled mountain biking. You! When you hear and see the name salsa, what does that mean to you?
Dancing.
Spicy.
It's about adventure and inspiration, really.
Really tasty sauces.
The spirit of adventure, which is kind of sizzly,
Yeah.
you know, and exciting, right?
Well, we're here at the home of Salsa and QBP in Bloomington, Minnesota, just outside Minneapolis. We're here to learn about the brand, learn about the area, and we have a wonderful tour guide here to help us out.
Hello and welcome to Minnesota.
Thank you, Jill. Well, what are we going to be getting into?
Oh, we're gonna be getting into lots of fun. We have a lot of cool things waiting for you guys today. I'm Jill Nazier, I'm the brand marketing manager at Salsa. We're really excited to have Loam here in Minnesota to look through all the new bikes we have to show
Oh,
you.
very cool. Let's get after it.
In 1997, and the owners of QBP, Steve and Mary, they purchased it. We went through, quite honestly, a long period of what I would call exploration, almost like being in your teenage years. We were trying a lot of different things. And one day, the brand manager at the time pulled a small group of us into a room and he said, what if we were gonna start over? What would salsa be? Super bold move. And we wound up having quite a few meetings that I would describe as being philosophical meetings. And when we talked about it, we kept coming back to experiences, and that the experiences were what really mattered. Through these meetings, we eventually landed on these words, adventure by bike. Those words then became the guiding mission for the brand, and they're the guiding mission to this day, and they guide our product development since that time.
How would you approach a consumer that is unaware of salsa and kind of the direction you're going with core, like the core mountain bike side, you know?
As a small brand, and we've grown a lot, we were much, much smaller. We almost have been hurt by our own success sometimes in other categories. So, very successful in fat. Arguably, we created the first gravel race bike, which is great, but that's what a lot of people know us for. And we make tremendous mountain bikes. The technology we use, the knowledge that our product team has, our engineers, our industrial designers, they're top notch. Marketing's tough. Everybody always wants to know, what are you gonna do to flip it? Flip the switch. So the products have to stand on their own merits. I think they do. And I think slowly we are starting to see that change.
All right, we're gonna take a little bit of a look through some of QBP's extra fun little spaces. We have a little bit of our distribution center here. We distribute basically anything you could find in a bike shop. And then over here, we have lots of cool stuff to look at.
Ooh, shock servicing.
Shock treatment center.
Yeah.
Sounds like it should be kind of in an insane asylum, but what happens here is a lot of our dealers can send their shocks to get fixed and redo evaluations of them. It's a kind of a cool little thing to watch.
Yeah, I had
here.
going to bike shops all these years, I had no idea they were sending them here.
They gotta send those shocks
I've had
somewhere.
a shock that has been here for sure.
Oh, you want to go find it?
No.
We can ask.
No, it came here for a reason.
So this is our wheel building area. So this is super important to QBP as a whole. We build lots of different kinds of wheels, but this is also very important to Salsa. So something that you guys are gonna see a lot of are all of the weird, quirky things we do with our bikes. We test a lot of different parts and pieces. So we are very lucky to have access to a lot of parts and pieces, and this is one of the places where the wheel part starts.
This is where all my wheels come after I've destroyed them. Good morning, fellow mountain bikers. We are here for day 2 riding in Duluth. Gonna go get some grub and apparently ride a chairlift in October, so that's pretty sweet. Oh, we are gonna be on the Blackthorn 2 this afternoon with a pretty sweet shock link. They got prototyping so you can easily access the shock bolt. It's actually angled in, which is pretty slick in my opinion. And it looks the part too. We just got a first few laps here on the Blackthorn 2. Super fun. What drove you to engineer and design in the ability to make it so modular in sense of that rear end being able to go from a short travel bike to kind of a mid travel or long travel trail bike, so to speak?
Yeah, it's really just trying to build a versatile bike, and I think it really speaks to kind of where we're at in the terrain we ride. We have everything from really flat, twisty cross-country trails available to us to, as you guys are seeing, like, you know, 400 or 500 foot bike park with legit rocks, and drops and jumps. And so to have a bike that can, you know, flex from a 125 travel up to 145, like, it's a really great bike that can really just, you can ride almost anything on it, you know, short of racing downhill.
When it comes to design philosophy around these bikes, I think one of the biggest things that stands out is the split pivot and kind of the evolution of that system on Salsa bikes. Can you dive into a little bit about why that was the system you originally chose and are continuing to move forward with subtle changes?
It goes back to probably 2010 or 2012 timeframe. I think our first split pivot bike was 2014. We were actually using a system that's actually quite popular today. Prior to that, we were using a flex stay single pivot design.
What is something that's really key and specific to that system that gives it a unique feel?
If they know or don't know about split pivot, people that know a little bit about it are like, oh, it's just a single pivot. Like, it, you know, the rear wheel is carried by directly to the front triangle to the frame via one swing arm, the chainstay. Really, most people's opinions or experiences with single pivots, I should say, are formed around true single pivot bikes, where the wheel, the driving forces of the bike and the braking forces are carried on the same swing arm. And so that swing arm is, all those forces, whether you're accelerating or decelerating, are rectified through the frame, through that single swing arm, through that single pivot. That's a problem because how you want to manage those forces for acceleration are basically completely opposite for braking. Split pivot, on the other hand, is basically, because there's a pivot concentric to the rear axle and the brake is mounted to the seat stay, you have effectively a floating brake built into the system. Sure. No other system does that. The beauty of split pivot in its simplicity, it's just the axle concentric pivot. It's just like this one small detail. It completely separates braking forces and driving forces. So we can handle the anti-squat through the single pivot location, but there's nothing wrong with a single pivot. You can make a very well efficient pedaling bike, but what will happen is you can't make a suspension that performs well under braking while doing efficient pedaling, so it's always a compromise. We can optimize the anti-squat, so we have a very, very efficient pedaling bikes because we don't have to worry about what the braking forces are doing, because that's basically run through the entire top half of the bike via that split pivot.
When did kind of this new design philosophy start for Salsa?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's been in the works, but really over like 4 or 5 years ago, we started to look at our line. And it's like, how can we rethink of this? You know, and that inspiration really came from our riders and how they utilize our product. I would say, you know, a lot of our riders do really cool, inspirational, epic adventures, and that inspiration really inspires me to develop product that inspires them as much as, you know, as they do for myself.
As I've learned since we've been here, your team is spread out all over the country. Is that beneficial for you when it comes to design language? And I can imagine that getting together is really helpful, but working apart also, you're able to, I'm guessing, test these bikes in many different zones. Is that something that takes place quite often?
Well, previously, when we were all kind of located here, we would do maybe like a once-a-year trip to Arizona, somewhere out west, to test certain product. But now that our team is spread all over, Bellingham, New Hampshire, Tahoe, we can really test product year-round. So they'll the latest protos, and I'll build those up and I'll just start putting miles on them. And you know, where I ride in Tahoe compared to say Bellingham, just different environment.
For sure. When it comes to these bikes, are you trying to develop a feeling that's similar across all of them? I mean, I do not want to speak to other brands, but there is that general, oh, like that's the feeling you get, or are you trying to give each bike its own unique personality and feeling, or is there some sort of, with that split pivot goal and like this is the feel we're after?
It's really about what does the rider need, what is their use case. If you ride a spearfish to a notch, like it rides like a Salsa, but each one has its own personality to fit what that rider needs. And I think then that is also reflected in how the bikes look themselves.
Talking earlier, and you mentioned that QBP is a B Corp. Can you elaborate a little bit on that for those that might not be aware of what all that is included? It's not just the title, there's a lot that goes into that.
B Corp is an independent nonprofit that has a bunch of standards set for businesses who want to balance purpose and profit, essentially. So not only are you making money, you're also giving back.
What else does Salsa specifically do in the community to kind of invoke riders to have more fun, to get out on bikes and enjoy their time?
Salsa is, I would say, one of our brands that's really kind of digging in really well to diversity and inclusion efforts, being that they're partnering with these awesome groups like Radical Adventure Riders, who are really focused on you know, gender inclusive and racial equity in the cycling industry. Groups like Bikepacking Roots, who are really trying to help people who might not otherwise have access to bikepacking be able to do that, and same with Adventure Cycling, so really making adventure and exploring on a bike more inclusive for everyone.
What are we riding today?
I think we're gonna ride some, Moraine, then we're gonna ride some Notch, two of our e-bikes, here at Spirit Mountain in Duluth.
When someone hears the name Salsa, they're really acknowledging that with drop bars.
Yeah.
How would you explain to someone that you're like, no, you're not just drop bars, like you have legitimate
Absolutely.
mountain bikes that are built to shred and built for the people that watch our videos and follow our channel?
That's a super good question, right? So first and foremost, yes, Salsa's history. I think for modern viewers, they probably recognize Salsa as a drop bar gravel brand, or maybe they had a fat bike or have a fat bike today, and they know the brand for that. You know, we've been quietly developing mountain bikes kind of alongside that. You know, best kept secret, not a great marketing strategy, but you know, we've had some really awesome wins along the lines of that. I think one of the things for riders to understand is the same sort of philosophy that we put into those drop bar products and those fat products is coming into mountain product as well. And so ultimately we, in some ways, make a product that we want to ride, but we're also making a product that's highly versatile and really capable and durable. And so while we might not be, you know, this top 3 mountain bike brand, I would encourage riders to give us a look, because we have a really thoughtful approach to development regardless of what we work on.
Is this what you would define adventure that Salsa promotes?
It's a form of adventure, you know. I think it's not your traditional adventure that we've told stories about in the past, but I think adventure ultimately is kind of about pushing yourself and developing skills, and those are things that you take off the bike as well, right?
It's peppy. Chunky XC stuff. Would you call that chunky XC? I'd call that chunky XC.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, thank you so much for taking the time to check out this feature of Behind the Brands with Salsa Cycles. Big thanks goes out to them for making it happen. We had a great time checking out their headquarters, local trail system, and everything Minnesota has to offer. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so, as it really helps grow the channel and bringing you behind the doors of your favorite brands. Until next time, we'll see you on the trails. Silent heckle.